Kylie here for Board Game Geek at Spiel 2012, and I'm joined by my fabulous new co-host, Catherine Roseland. I figured I'd let you introduce yourself since it's your first time. And Catherine is visiting us for the day, hopefully to be on camera more later. Possibly, yes. But we are joined today by Urbanization.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here and presenting another game for Board Game Geek.
Fantastic. And today you brought us Urbanization, which is published by Queen.
Yes, so it's a new Queen game by Johnny Epson. Johnny Epson is a Danish designer author. The topic of the game is we start roughly at the time of the Industrial Revolution and try to develop a prospering city. Let me maybe start with describing the game board and some of the components.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what we are seeing here is the area where we can build the city, develop the city. And in each of these areas, regions, you see a price marker. I get to this a little bit later. We also see grain markers here. This is for a 4-player game. So in each of these barns, there are 4 grain markers. That's a field, and this is a return area for additional grain. Then we see 3 commodities here, which are needed if you build factories. They are for production. By the way, the game has 6 game turns. Then it's over, and each game turn has 4 phases. So each player in total does exactly 24 actions, 1 per phase. You know this in advance, and the game is over. You also see factories here. 3 are already available at the start. The others will come in during later turns if people buy more factories. Then we have some more regions here, but they are only used in a 2 or 3 player game because then the land is even more scarce as it is now. So
keep it very competitive.
Yes, right, exactly. Around the board is the victory points board. So we start at 0 victory points. You also have some cards. These are special characters which will help the players during the game.
Thank you.
And only in an expansion you'll need the different invention cards. They are then placed at the top of the board in a certain order, and people can use these inventions to develop their city in a better way.
I'm guessing these are all real historical inventions.
Right. You see the sea drill, you see the spinning jenny, a steam engine, but then you also see that we are developing more modern things like...
here, why don't you lay out 1 or 2 in the middle here just so we can see.
So here's the sea drill, there's the spinning jenny, but we also have dynamite later, or the internet.
All right.
So, or microchips. So, but this is just for an expansion, which is already included in the game. Put these back for a second. Each player also needs some money, of course, to develop a city, and the wooden pieces are either houses or administrative buildings or skyscrapers or some factories. All players can use them during the game. And each player also has this player board here.
We'll put that out.
Let's put it down there. And it has, as you see, it has several lines. So the top one is for citizens, the number of citizens in your city. Then how many housing you have, because all the citizens want to live, so they need houses. But they also need to be fed during the game, so the grain markers tell them how much is there. And this is a marker for how much production capacity you have. You always start at the one here. The last one is for taxation. It starts at the opposite point. All the starting spaces are color-coded here. And this marker moves in this direction. The number of times you can tax in the game is limited. Okay, let me get this back. So what are you doing during a typical turn? You see the price markers here. All the land costs at the start $1. But these price markers, if you acquire a land, and I now mark it, so this is my land, these are not So they are not completely removed, but you move them to a different area. So you see, later in the game, land gets more scarce, but it's also exactly it gets more expensive. You also see that the lands, the regions here, have different numbers of building grounds, either one building ground or two building grounds. You need these building grounds to either have grain markers there, so it's for agricultural work because your citizens need something to eat. Or you could use these building grounds for a house because your citizens have to live too. Later in the game, because the building grounds are limited, as you see, you could exchange a house for a skyscraper because more people could live in there.
Okay.
You can also build a factory if you have the factory marker, if you have bought it later. Then you can build a factory. So you cannot get a factory card unless you already have the ground to build the factory in. That's also very important. The administrative buildings, they are expensive, but they will garner you victory points, but they do not need a building ground on the board. So these are the only ones which do not need a building ground. What I like in this game very much is that you really get, of course in an abstract way, a feel how a city is developed. So you need citizens, of course, but they need to be fed, they need houses, and they need work. That's all integrated in the game. So what I'm doing when it's my turn, I'm doing per phase just a single action. So I could buy more land. This one is then move to a different area, I would mark it, or I could do agricultural work, or I could get a house, or I could upgrade a house to a skyscraper, or I could build a factory. There are literally no random factors in the game, so it's really a gamer's game where you can think ahead what you are doing. And in the end, what I like very much is that everything has to be considered. You get victory points, or most victory points, for the maximum number of citizens you have. So having 5 citizens is very good, but in order to have 5 citizens, you need 5 houses, 5 times agriculture, and 5 times production capacity. So, right, exactly. So if it's only this, I can only have 2 citizens, even if I have 5 houses and 5 food. So everything has to be considered. This is very important in the game. And of course, building everything costs money. Money is very scarce, and so you have to tax your people during the game. But of course, also you can only do this a limited time unless they will get very unhappy. You also have these cards. Before your action, you can hire one of these characters. All of them are very helpful. All of them are good to you, but you only get one for free per turn. So sometimes the farmer is very important because it gives you additional ground for grain production. Sometimes the architect is very important because he will lessen the costs of buildings to those. So each turn you do not have these cards for the whole of the game, but in each turn you get one of them that are helping you. This is it in a nutshell. At the end,
How many players?
2 to 4. Playing time is about 75 minutes, and as I said earlier, I think it's a gamer's game. Mechanically, it's not difficult to play. The rules are pretty short, so family type gamers won't have any problems there, but the thinking ahead is sometimes, or it may be a little bit too hard for typical families. So I think that it's more a gamer's game.
Now you guys are selling this here at the fair.
No, I don't think so. It will soon appear. I think it now only got to Kickstarter pre-orders.
Right. Is Kickstarter live for this?
It's already over, but you know, there's Kickstarter people always will get their copies first. So Queen, of course, is honoring this, but it will soon go to the general distribution worldwide. because it's an international edition. So it does not only include English rules, but also French, German, and several other languages too.
Now, do you know what the price is going to be, just for general distribution?
Unless, no, unfortunately no.
I don't have to be a surprise.
Yeah, hopefully a nice surprise.
Well, Uli, thank you so much for coming down and showing us Urbanization.
Thank you very much. You're welcome.
No problem.
Thank you. Thank you.